All right, guys, it's Grant and Tim. Tim's back.
What's up, guys?
Tim, how are you, man?
Good, man. Been busy.
I want to welcome you to our Gutter Growth podcast. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, man.
All
So what's
right.
going on?
So I've been since we partnered up, I've been really wanting to do an interview of you. I know a little bit about this story, and I think this is really engaging. And man, I'm about to interview my partner. So let's just dive right into it. Tim, you made an exit in the gutter business. But I'm a little bit more curious about how you started it off. Um, I think people can find out how you exit by joining our mastermind group.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what we're pushing people towards is an exit or long-term scaling growth. But today is about you, my friend, and I want to know how you got started in the gutter business and why you chose the gutter business. So that's my first question. What did you do before you did gutters?
So I didn't really choose the gutter business. The gutter business chose me.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah. I didn't even know what a gutter was when I started.
Okay.
I didn't. So I was like 18, 19 years old. I was a personal trainer for like a year. Like the day I turned 18, I started personal training. So I did that. And I was actually running my own business doing it. I was at a gym. I had to pay them like $700 a month rent to be able to
Wow.
train clients there.
Yeah.
Um, I was busy. I had like 40 clients a week, or at least 40 hours a week I was training. So I was always at
Mm-hmm.
the gym. I had my own clients. It was going good. The gym at the time wanted to come in and have employees. I didn't want the independent contractors anymore.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
they wanted to take away pretty much all my profit because I already had clients. I'm like, well, I'm not giving you 60% of my income, just,
Yeah.
So I
Just to do
quit
that.
doing it. And all the other gyms at the time did the same thing. And I was young, I was 18, so I really didn't have another plan.
Yeah.
One of my clients was a gutter guy. So he's
Oh.
like, hey, why don't you come in, work with me? So I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it. And I went there and I was just like, what the hell is this? Like, he's running this out the machine. I didn't even know what a gutter was. And, but here I was doing gutters now. So I did that that was with Gutter Guy. I worked with them for like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, that was kind of when the economy started going bad and it was slowing down. And I kind of jumped around to another company down in
Yeah.
Boca.
Yeah.
Worked with them for like a year. Um, Arthur. I worked with him for like a year down there.
R.I.P. Arthur. Definitely. He just passed away. Correct.
Yeah,
No, that
yeah.
was a good buddy of yours. So,
Yeah, he was an
that
interesting
was
character, but
he was. I worked with Arthur a bit. I had sent some people his way, and he was definitely an interesting character. But he knew the gutter business. Did you learn a good deal from Arthur?
now I taught Arthur most of what he knows about the gutter
Okay,
business.
there we go. You
Yeah,
take it when you can get it, right?
yeah. But he taught me a lot
Okay.
about business. So like
Business, yes.
it used to drive me nuts, really. Like I don't think many people could work with the guy, but I
No.
was like one-on-one with him, and he would
Yeah.
make me, we'd come in and he wouldn't even let us go to the jobs until we had breakfast. So I'd have to sit
Yeah.
down and eat breakfast with him every day, and I'm like, I just want to go.
Yes. Yes.
But what
Hey
it
guys,
did,
we are talking about Arthur from Anytime Gutters out of Boca Raton. He just recently passed away, so we're having some fun with it as a remembrance of him. So,
yes, but so it was weird though, but going to those breakfasts taught me a lot because it slowed me down. And it kind
oh
of taught
yeah,
me working because I was just in grind mode. It's like grind, 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 grind. Now I got this guy slowing me down. I'm irritated about it, but it ended up it
yeah, yeah.
ended up
So that's
teaching
the
me
worst.
business. It ended up teaching me a
Yeah.
lot about business because you
Mhm.
have to, if you can't ever have a breakfast, you can never work on your business because you're so busy working in it. And
Wow.
so
True.
it kind of slowed things down for me to where I kind of seen it from a different perspective, how to work on your business. And it kind of changed the paradigm that I had. So I took a lot of lessons from him, but I could only
Good.
really deal with working with him for about a year.
Yeah, I think I worked with him for one thousandth of that amount of time. So
Yeah.
maybe one day,
Yeah.
maybe a week, something like that. Definitely an intriguing relationship with him, but I could see I spoke with him a lot more than I worked with him. You know, I was there locally in Boca, Boynton,
Mhm.
Hypolux. So, but yeah, about you. So you work with Arthur a little bit, you learn from him, and then where do you go? What do you do?
So then from there, this was like when the economy was just falling apart, like 08, 09, somewhere around there. Um, I couldn't find any gutter work at the time. I would work for Arthur like 1 or 2 days a week, but I started
Hmm.
an advertisement company and I had like 7 guys that would go around passing out flyers for other companies. So I did like a lot of
Oh,
pizzerias, Boca Tanning Club. I did them corporately.
okay.
Um, and then so that kind of led into me. I hired a graphic designer. I got into full color printing, so we were doing everything. If I'm going to pass out the flyers, I'm going to do the printing too. But it's just that business was really, if you think the gutter business could be irritating, passing out flyers is really irritating, especially
I
when you
can
get
imagine.
guys, slacking off, throwing stuff in the dumpsters. It was just
Yeah.
yeah, it was good for a little while. It filled in the spot when it was slow, and I did a little bit of part-time stuff for Arthur in the meantime. Um, and then so then I started a gutter business with I don't know if you guys do you know Wade McCarthy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know Wade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
What year was that?
that was like
Ish, like
yeah,
roughly.
it had to be 15 years ago.
Yeah. Where were you
So
guys out? Where were you guys out of there? Where was like the hub at that time? Was that Northern?
so he was in Loxahatchee, and
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
he had a
Okay.
company called Done Right Gutter, and
Yeah.
he had that company for like 10 years or so. It was actually pretty successful, and then he fell off, and then he was working for Arthur at the time when I met him.
Did he
So
end up selling that?
yeah, no,
Or did he just close
I
it
don't know.
down?
I don't know how it
Yeah.
happened, but he ended
Okay.
up not doing good with it. So I
Yeah.
met him through Arthur, and he had a gutter truck and a gutter machine just sitting there, and I had the advertisement business going, so I kind of could push it out,
Oh,
some
yeah.
advertisement for cheap.
Yeah.
So I ended up throwing like $5,000 into it to get some marketing going, and he had the truck, and we partnered up. I did that for like 3 months.
Hmm.
I was married. I had 3 kids at the time. And so when I was like about 3 months into it, uh, my wife at the time packed up everything in my house and moved over to the
Said,
West Coast.
said see you
My
later.
kids, yeah, everything. So I
Yeah.
had the 2 businesses here on the East Coast of Florida. Um,
Hmm.
I was trying to save my family, so I gave up the business with Wade.
100%.
I'm like, all right, you could have it. Good
Yep.
luck. I gave up the advertisement business. I moved over to Sarasota and
Hmm.
I worked for a gutter company for like 2 months there, saved up a little bit of money. I didn't have a lot of money at the time, but I came up with like 5 grand. Everything was cheap from the recession. So I was
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
get
That was
like
a great time.
I was able to get an old trailer and a gutter machine for like 5 grand. And I think a
Yep.
8 foot ladder went with it. Um, so that was my first rig that I had on my own. And I
Hmm.
started a company there on the Sarasota. I had that going for like 3, 4 months. And then things went south again with my marriage again.
Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah, yeah.
No job.
Yeah. So then I ended up moving back to the East Coast and I had uh I had all 3 of my kids in my custody for like a good 3, 4 months.
Hmm.
Um
So you're strapped
I
at
lost
this
my
time.
vehicle. Yeah, I lost
Yeah.
my
You're
vehicle.
strapped.
I had a trailer, a gutter machine sitting over in Sarasota, and I had no truck to pull it with. And
uh,
I had all these kids with me.
and that's all you can think about is that machine. You're like, I need to get this thing
Yeah, I
doing
need to get it
something.
going.
Yeah.
So, and I had a couple things of advertisement going on. I think this is the transition when like Google stopped working. And
Yes.
not Google, I mean the Yellow Pages. The
Oh,
Yellow
Yellow
Pages,
Pages. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, Yellow Pages stopped working. No one really knows what to do yet. Yeah, like it's going
Hmm.
to Google, but everyone they're so stuck on this is just what I did, the Yellow Pages, or maybe some magazines. And the
Yeah. That was
transition is like
huge.
figuring out what's going to work, what's not going to work.
Yellow Pages was huge for us back then. And remember, you'd
Huge.
get, depending on how much money you had, you were like, oh, that they'd hit you with the full pages only X amount. And you're like, can I just get my name and phone number in this thing? I'll work on the little quarter page eventually. But the
Yep.
companies that had that little quarter or half page, I remember aspiring because that's back when I first opened my gutter business. That
Yeah.
I remember when they said, "Yeah, full page," and I was like, "How much?" Had I known now, had I known then what I know now, which we teach people, get the full page, man. Come on, you got to
Yeah.
invest in yourself. But
But it was weird. It
okay,
was like all of a sudden it stopped. So that just
yeah,
didn't
that's
work
right.
anymore. It's just
People were
automatically
tired of
deleted,
those
quit working.
huge phone books, I think, being thrown in their driveways. Remember, they'd be so wet.
Yeah.
They'd be so wet. Okay, so how do you get the machine? Do you get the machine back from Sarasota?
So I didn't. So, I'm
Oh,
sitting there. This is like, I'm like depressed at the time,
yeah. I
like
mean,
everything's
you're.
taken away from me. I don't have, I
Yeah,
can't
you're
even
low.
operate my business. I don't have a truck to operate it with. So I get a call one day and I answered it, and there was someone on the West Coast, and they had a house they wanted me to quote. Now this is back before no one did virtual or
No,
digital quotes.
no,
No
no,
one did
nobody.
digital quotes. This was
No,
unheard
we
of.
didn't have Google Earth or anything or none of that stuff.
Well,
You
we
had to
did Google
physically.
Earth that just came out,
Did
but
it?
still nobody was doing digital quotes yet.
No.
So I looked it up and I did a digital quote, and I think I was off by like 10 feet. But I sold the
Wow, not
job over
bad.
the phone.
Okay.
And so it's like, okay, I remember the job was blue. It was a blue job. I
Out
actually
in
remember.
Sarasota.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
blue
I got a
job.
lot of blue houses over there. People love
Yeah.
blue by the
And
ocean.
then so my dad at the time, because I was living with him because I didn't have any place to go. So I went to my parents'
Mm-hmm.
house. He worked during the week. So he did have a pickup truck, but he worked during the week. And so I lined up that job to do on a Saturday.
Uh-huh.
And I had like a week before it was time to go do the job. And I lined up like two more estimates that day. So then, my dad wasn't a businessman. He basically worked for a company for like 30 years. So the whole entrepreneurial thing was like new to him.
Yeah.
So, me and him are driving over there and we're bickering the whole time.
Yeah, he's not really supportive, right? Of like
At that point
going
he
into the
wasn't.
unknown. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
at
Going
that
in,
point he wasn't. Like
hey man,
now
this is
he's got.
unknown. If you just went and got a regular job like me and worked there for the rest of your life, you'll be fine, right? But
Yeah,
like,
correct.
no,
Yeah.
no, you don't know what I'm going to be doing in 2023. I got big plans.
Right. I'm like, no, this is what I'm doing. So, but he did it, man. He took me over there. We did
Very
the
cool.
job. I knocked out a couple estimates and I sold a couple jobs. So I got the ball
Okay.
rolling. So we did that for like 4 months to where I could only work on a Saturday. So
Mm-hmm.
we would drive over there. We'd actually leave at 3 a.m. because it was a 3 hour drive to get
Where
to
were you
Sarasota.
guys at this time? Port St. Lucie?
Yeah, I'm in Port St. Lucie.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a nice 4 hour drive
So it
for
was
you.
like, yeah, right on the dot. I think it was right at 3 hours, maybe a little more.
Okay.
But we'd
Mm-hmm.
wake up at 3 a.m, leave. I'd get there at 6, get my trailer going. I'd try to be on the first job site by like 7:30. I I was a one-man band. I mean, he'd help me pick stuff up or maybe help me stick
Yeah.
a piece, but I was doing the job. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was like as fast as I could get everything done. I was like
Yeah.
lightning speed. Yeah, the
Yeah.
fastest job you've ever seen get done.
No, for
And
sure. Hey, listen,
I'm knocking them out.
all you guys that are like, man, these Florida dudes, because they do, they really, and I'm Texan now, but I did a decade plus, probably close to 12 or 13 years installing in Florida. Florida will change your life, but let alone, and I tell my boys this all the time, my rookies, I go, you start that little attitude stuff with me, you're going to go work by yourself for 90 days and you will learn to be efficient, right? The
Yeah.
best guys are the guys that went and worked alone for a couple of years or at least a couple months. So,
The
okay,
first
that makes a
five
lot of
years I
sense.
worked alone, so I was pretty accustomed
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
But
You don't count on anybody else and you make sure every step counts, right? You do stuff as you go. It's a whole process. Guttergrowth.com will teach you about that stuff. All right.
absolutely.
So you're over there,
So I'm
you're
over
banging
there.
out Saturdays.
We do this for about 4 months. I'm saving up my money.
Mm-hmm.
Finally get enough money where I could buy a truck.
There we go.
So I get a down payment on a truck. I think it was like 5 grand I put down. It was a Silverado. Then it was on. I'm like, okay, I
You're
can go to
unstoppable
Sarasota more
now.
often. Now I'm still operating a business 3 hours away. Huge inconvenience, but
For
I'm doing
sure.
it. So
You're
I,
doing it.
because I already had my advertisement over there, so the ball was already going. And I think it was like something with the yellow pages. Maybe it
Okay.
was like online, but I had a contract with them. So That's where
Yeah.
my advertisement was. So I end up doing it like another 2 or 3 months over there. I'm able to work like, I don't know, I was getting like 3 days a
You
week,
seeing your kids a little bit too? Is that part of keeping
Yeah.
it over there? Because
Yep.
people always ask me why so many states. Well, I got 6 kids with 4 different women, and there's been a lot of states involved. And anytime I can be near them, I like to be near them. So
Yep.
there's no shame in trying to be near your kids and be a good father for sure.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
So yeah, it was like maybe, well, so I'm over there. I think I was in Sanibel Island doing a job.
Ooh, that's
I
gorgeous.
get a call from my grandfather, and he was in Danvers, Tennessee, and which is like 45 minutes from Knoxville. And they had
Uh-huh.
a big hailstorm over there. So it's like, yeah, I wasn't putting two and two together yet. But then I had another buddy who lived in Knoxville, who was a Florida guy too. He moved up there. And he's actually the guy that got me in the gutter business. So we're talking about the guy
Okay.
that I was training. So
Yeah. Who's this?
Joe Conley,
Joe Conley. Shout out Joe
he owns
Conley. Now we've
Joe's
got
Gutters
Tim.
in Knoxville.
Now we've got Tim Crouch. Hell yeah.
Yep. So
All right.
so anyways, I talked to him. He's like, man, I'm banging up here. It's just like I'm loaded with work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I
This
had
is
like,
what, 2010? When is this?
yeah,
2000.
somewhere around there. Somewhere
Yeah, I
around
remember
there.
it was slapping out there then.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was banging. That was a big storm.
Yeah,
So I had like $5,000 saved,
you're
and
going.
I'm going.
You're going.
And
I've been there so many
yeah,
times in my life.
and
Uh,
out of that 5 grand, I remember I had to spend 800 of it to fix my trailer tires and trailer brakes.
oh
Because I'm in
yeah.
Florida, I don't really need all that, but now I'm going
Yeah.
to the mountains. So it's
No,
like
for
I need
sure.
trailer brakes, I need good tires. So
Yeah.
800 bucks. Now I'm down to 4,200. I take off. I go visit my grandfather first.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at his house for like 3 days. As soon as I get there, I pull up in a Home Depot parking lot, and I got my trailer, and it's all lettered. And it's lettered with a Florida number, but they're desperate for workers. So as soon as I
Yeah,
get there,
yeah.
like 3 or 4 contractors come up to me, and I had work, but they didn't pay right away. So you got that 2 week pay period that you gotta buy the
Yeah.
material, knock stuff out. So
That
I
old
think
float root, we
I
call
got
it the
my
root beer
first,
float.
yeah. So by the time I got my first check, I was like down to 200 bucks out of town. But then it just like
Man,
snowballed, and
it
within
starts.
6 months, I ended up having 3 crews. I bought a couple other 5-inch machines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was resourceful at the time, so I would only hire guys that had their own trucks to kind of pull the machines at the time.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
And then yeah, then I did that for like a year in Knoxville, and then we started going to other storms. I went to St. Louis for a little while. I didn't like it too much there. Went to
Yeah.
Dallas, Texas, Oklahoma City,
Yeah.
um, Indiana, Clarksville, Indiana. Worked a little bit in
Okay.
Kentucky, and a couple jobs in Virginia. I didn't really stay in Virginia, but we had to go there a few times. So
Mm-hmm.
my way around, and I got tired of being on the road. I think I was on the road for like 3 years, maybe a little bit under, and missed the
Yeah.
kids because the kids were back in Florida. Um, so then I did it all over again. I moved back to Florida, spent every dollar I had. I think I paid all my bills like 3 months ahead of time, so I didn't have to worry about anything for a
Yeah.
couple months. And I was back down to a couple $100 again to get Gutter Pros going. And
Yeah.
I found a Gutter Pros locally. So I'm like, all right, I'm back in my hometown. I'm not on the
Mm-hmm.
West Coast. I'm where I'm planted, and I grew Gutter Pros and did that for like 10 years, and
Yeah.
made the exit last year.
Yeah. Fabulous. And I know a lot of the guys you had over at Gutter Pros. So you had a fabulous team over there. I remember being down in again, this is about you, so I'm not gonna go on and on. But I remember being down in 2000. Oh, let's just call it like 2014, 15. I came down to Rainbow Gutter in Boca and did some stuff over there. And then me and Jerry started up Jerry Seamless and Hypoluxo over there. But prior to that, I did a bunch of work. I was living in Lantana and
Okay.
driving to Key Largo every day.
Wow.
Dude, you want to talk about leaving at 3 a.m. and getting to the job site at like 9:30. Whew.
So you've done
So
those
I've
early mornings before too.
Yeah, I mean, you had to go through Miami traffic and then you had to go all the way down to the Keys. I mean, there's times when we had to be in Key West, at 9 a.m. So you leave at 1 a.m. You know what I mean? And whether you're driving or sleeping in the back of the truck, I mean, the same story. We did whatever we had to do. You can look back and go, man, I wish I did things differently, but it gave us the character that we have, the work, the drive, the perseverance, the dead broke out on the road, just like trying to do whatever you can. So, can equate to that. But I remember being 2015, 16, 17, 18, always thinking about like, man, what's these gutter pros? What these gutter pros, And I can't remember the couple guys you had. I think we kind of like the gutter business always, right? You end up trading guys and somebody come in and interview. Where'd you
Oh
work?
yeah.
I worked at Gutter Smith, I worked at Gutter Pros. And then they give you the other 900 companies they worked at in the past year and a half. And you're like, oh, well, you got a job problem. Um, but yeah, you guys were always pumping out awesome work. And then of course you started to, and I want to expound on this next. You started, I mean, you weren't always doing copper like every day, all day,
No,
right? No, no.
no.
Tell us a little bit about like we'll jump forward a little bit. And how did you and when did you figure out that copper game? Was that
Well,
2018-ish?
yeah, somewhere around there. I
Uh-huh.
started, they trickled in. Once I started taking the company real serious, I mean, I hooked up a pipeline and my
Yeah,
branding was out of this world. They did a
it was.
fabulous job at that. Yeah,
Yeah, we were
John.
jealous at the time of that. I remember when I saw you go from a certain trajectory to another, and I was like, man, this guy just figured it all out. I remember me and Jerry would sit and talk about it like,
Yep.
this guy's got it figured out. How did he? And now we know. And now I'm partnered with these guys too. Thanks for that plug, man. The Mr. Pipeline, if you guys need it,
Yeah,
they're
there's no
there.
other there's no other company to use if you're gonna have gutters on a website and SEO. That's who you need to use. They got kind
I
of
just
got
had a fabulous call with Jacob last Wednesday. He kind of walked me through their whole program and how it works and what it costs and what they offer and the upsides and the downsides. Because I love it when people are honest with you about, if you do this, here's the upside, but if you only do this, here's the downside. And uh,
yeah, they give it
I
to you
just
straight.
Great.
They
They give it to you
definitely do.
straight.
And me and John kind of developed that together because we would get on the phone for like an hour a week and have these long conversations, just strategizing. And I was the first gutter company he was marketing for. So he kind of,
Oh,
he mastered it, and then now he's
he
able
got it
to,
mastered. Yeah.
he's got it
Yeah.
mastered. Yeah. So
That's Mr. Pipeline, guys. MrPipeline.com. Go check it out
yeah,
for your
so
AdWords and website.
I don't, I don't remember the exact light bulb moment, but I mean, I know that I sold a couple copper jobs. It was almost like you would only get one quote a year, or at least I would at
Yeah.
the time.
One or
So it's
two.
not, yeah, so it's not like I'm getting a lot of them, but then when I did sell them, it's like, man, this is good money. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I just started, something in my brain started churning, and I started figuring out how to get the calls.
Yes.
And once I figured out how to get the calls, now I'm getting, you know, 4 or 5 calls a month instead of
It
a
starts
year,
off quick. Yeah.
which is huge
Yeah.
because now I'm
It's
doing
huge.
copper every month. I mean, when I sold the company, we did copper every month. I'd say a good
Mm-hmm.
30% of the business was probably copper
Let
as
me
far
ask
as
you this. What do you think the benefit is? We could turn this into a much larger conversation. And we talk about this in the coaching sometimes. Like copper's not for everybody, right? Like the material cost is a lot greater. The technique is a lot greater. So the payout is a lot greater. And so sometimes the margin can be the same or even less than just going and pumping out regular gutters. What did you find that really motivated you to continue to do these copper jobs? Was it because you knew how to sell them at the right price and create a bigger margin than just running aluminum, case style or half round, or what was it?
I guess I'm the type of guy that just gets bored, I guess. So I mean, like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always
yeah.
trying to create and grow and get better. And so I didn't, a lot of it was the margins, because I could sell one job instead of selling 50 jobs,
A hundred
you know,
percent.
because you can have $120,000 copper job easy,
And your
or
guys are at the same place every day too. They can leave the truck there, the
it's
trailer,
easier to
whatever, right?
manage. they're
Hmm.
actually better customers, believe it or not. It's like
Oh,
I've never
absolutely.
my worst customers have been a clean out, for 200 bucks.
Cheapest customers are the worst. They're so
Cheapest
picky.
customers are the worst. So it's putting you in a bracket where these are really nice people.
Yep.
They're easy to work with for the most
It
part. I
creates a
don't,
beautiful portfolio too, right? When you
oh
got a
yeah.
portfolio of guys that are able to do this really exquisite work, and then they got to go just do regular K style or aluminum, they knock it out of the park and get right back to the money. But they bring that technique and professionalism to the smaller customer, and
I do
people like
remember I
that.
do remember one thing. I bought a book and I was going to read it. It was like an entrepreneurial book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I picked up the book and I started to read like the first chapter. And I'm like, this book is so elementary. I'm like, this book is like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, and I'm already like 10 years into it,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
more than that at the time. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to give this book to my son. So I
Okay.
look at the back of the book and I read the back of the book. In the back of the book, it talks about, uh, it's talking about like building simple business, and maybe it wasn't even that book. I think it was the 80-20 rule. Have you heard of the 80-20
Yeah, the
rule?
80-20. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that got
Okay.
me thinking that I wanted, 80% of the profits come from 20% of the jobs, and that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of the copper. When you're doing the copper, you're definitely, you're not even getting 20%. I was eventually, but
People have
that
to know how to
smaller amount
sell
of
it. Yeah.
jobs, you could have a lot less jobs and get a lot more profit on it. So I wanted my copper to be the 80% and I wanted the K style to be the 20%. So I just kind of wanted to flip it around. And
Yes.
so once I kind of conceived that, that's when I started figuring out, okay, how can I get these calls? And then I got a couple tricks up my sleeve that I've learned. And, you
Isn't it
know,
funny how you can finesse business? I think like I can't speak for you, but like I wouldn't say I had a poor mindset. I was a gutter worker since I was 16 years old. That was back in 1996. My boss Steve at the time, man, I want to say he was giving me like 13, 15 bucks an hour. 16 years old, 1996. That was great money. You know what I mean? I was making five, it was a little overtime, 5, 6, 700 bucks a week, at 16 years old. And in the 90s, I was like, okay. But it's still been gutters. And you have the hot moments and the off moments, and you have kids, and then you party and cruising the country, doing all this stuff. And like I just always was like, business, that's too hard for me. I'm just trying to figure out, life in general. Just be responsible, slow down. No, I want to work 50 hours a week hanging gutters, and then I want to club and have a good
mhm.
time and hang out with buddies and fish and swim and drive fast, all this stuff that didn't matter. But it's funny now, right? As we continue to grow and mature, it's like, well, you can finesse business, rinse and repeat. That's just why you have the mastermind. We're trying to give that sauce to other people, and it's actually, now that we know it, right, and we're successful, it's like, come on guys, it's actually really easy. But I think there's a stubbornness. Would you agree that there's a stubbornness that's like, well, I ain't gonna spend this much money on that, that's stupid. Like, well then,
Yeah.
yeah, you're
A
probably
lot of
never gonna do
people,
more than 400,000 a year.
have that, I don't know, that mental barrier where they
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's like, I don't know, it's just like they'll want to put a budget in mind. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to spend more than $2,000, on
Mm-hmm.
advertisement. But they don't realize that them not spending more than that is just you're just telling me you only want a little bit of leads. That's what
A
you're
little
telling me.
bit.
When you
Tim,
tell
would
me that
you
you have a $2,000 budget and that's all you want to spend, you're telling me that you only want a little bit of leads. And so it's that barrier that needs to be changed, that mental barrier to where
yes,
it's not really spending money. If you get a return on a dollar you
preach.
spend, you're not spending money, you're investing money. It's a boomerang that comes back, and every time it comes back fatter.
One of my favorite sayings by you. When you first said it, this was, I think it was, I mean, let's call it our first conversation of the year. You were starting Mastermind. You were doing your checking out some people, right? You called me. We talked a little bit. You had mentioned possibly doing some stuff together, and you told me that because I'm inquisitive. I asked some questions. Well, how's this going to work? And what's the right price and how long and what, I asked you all those questions and you answered them. And I remember going, what about the people that are going to have this mental hurdle? Like, this is just another, like me and you are trying to get rich quick. By the way, people, I'm doing 30 hours of phone calls. This is not get rich quick by any means. I'm
No.
pouring my heart and soul out to people. Tim's got some better boundaries than me. I'm just trying to earn my way in. But you had mentioned that right off the bat. You said, listen, the biggest thing that I tell people is that, and true, listen, there are some people that spend money and they lose it forever, right? Because they don't
Right.
have the right
They're not
coach,
doing the
or
right
they've been,
stuff.
or they've been duped or whatever. But when we're talking about being coached into spending uh your marketing dollars, we'll call them, by something, we know the gutter industry really well. I wouldn't step out of line and tell you to spend X amount of money on a car business. I don't know that, but in the gutter business, Tim knows that side very well. And I love that. Throwing that boomerang out and it comes back. And money, it's like the boomerang just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And you probably are gonna need more people to help you catch it when it comes back. And we would call that staffing, right?
Right. You put $5,000 out there. You know that just, and let's say, like you told me the other day, I don't think I was spending that much, but you're in a different market. You told me that every lead's costing you $100, which
$93 just to get the
$93.
lead, not the gas, the time, the commission, nothing. Yeah.
I think I was more like around 40, 45 for in different markets.
Ooh, buddy,
But
times have changed though, too.
yeah, that's true too. It may be more right now.
I went to
But
get Post-it notes today, in one pack of whatever, was $11 at Office Depot. I'm like,
what is
I'm
that
going to the
stamp
dollar store.
now?
I don't even know, because my wife does that stuff and the company pay. But I was just like, okay, that's why we're at $93 a lead. We're probably a little more, we're at the top.
But
Gutters Brothers has
let's
it
call
figured
it,
out.
it's not going to be 100, but let's call it 100. If you spent $5,000 and you know you're getting 50 leads, are you telling me you can't sell half of them? So it's
We
just like,
sell
why
50%.
do you want
Absolutely.
20 leads? Why do you want one estimate a day? What
Thank you, Tim.
you're going to sell 2 jobs a week. So, I mean, people need to get bigger balls. They need to be brass, and you need to spend more, but you're not spending it. And so this is what I'm getting at with the boomerang.
Yeah.
You put out that 5,000 the first month. If it brings back, which it will, it brings back 50 estimates on the high end. If it was where I was spending, double that. If you can't sell half of those, I mean, you got a sales problem. But if you could sell half of them, which is, I guess, the industry standard, I think most gutter companies are selling.
Let's do the math on this real quick, just to give them. So you're going to put out $5,000, right? Now you're going to get 50 leads. Let's say you close 25 of them, right? Your average sale, what do we want to call average sale? I mean, $2,000, $2,000, right? It's 100. Oh, $2,000. I did my math wrong. Sorry here. Okay. We got 25 leads times $2,000 is $50,000 worth of work. You put 5,000 out. Now you want to try
so
to
did you spend the money? Because I don't think you're going to have that 50 grand of work coming in if you didn't spend it. So I don't know. Did you spend it or did you not spend it? I don't look at it as spending. I look at it as you put it out there. It came back to you. Now it's time to put it out there again. Every month you got to put your boomerang out.
Let me give you guys another example. And this is just a rough, right? Our company, we close about 55%. I've got 2 brand new salesmen this whole year that's been brand new under mine and Kip's direction, and they've sold $1.1 million each. These are rookie salespeople, okay? Now we have a $10,000 to $15,000 a month budget that goes up and down in different seasons. But if we get we get about 200 leads a month, and we close 100, and our average sale is $2,500, that's $250,000 a month. Right. That's what we need to do $2.5 million in our second year. We've got to put the 15,000 out, the 12.5, whatever it is. We know it comes back. It comes back. It's Christmas. My guy sold like 18,000 today. It's 2 days after Christmas.
So, I mean, it's just a paradigm thing. If they get in our mastermind group, we're going to help you change that paradigm.
We're going to help you change that paradigm for sure. Okay. So You got gutter pros, and I want to know. I know I definitely know this part, but when do you decide? Hey, man, I'm gonna drop some. I'm gonna get big balls, and I'm gonna drop some serious money on these bigger machines, these high dollar machines.
Um, yeah, so I think I did my first thing that I eyed was a European box cutter machine.
For the
And
win, for the
I feel
win.
like I don't know, but I feel like I'm kind of the one that made it popular down here in
You
South
did.
Florida.
No, you did. I'll give you right here, Grant Hubbard. Hats off. Wow, look, I did something different. I wasn't gonna tell everybody that, but you did make a drastic change. Yeah, that's you. Let's just give you the. Do we
So
have
and
the?
I don't take the credit for being the first machine down here. There was
We
a guy
we've
that
we've got the trophy for Tim.
there was a guy that had the machine, and but he just did not know how to market it. You look at his website, you didn't even know he had the machine. So it was
Correct.
pretty much, I imagine he probably only sold that profile like when he was at a job and he pitched it. So
Yeah,
I'm like, all
yeah.
right, I want this machine. So I ended up ordering it and I marketed it the correct way. And so now I'm getting calls for it.
Uh-huh.
And, that was the first step. So I kind of got into that and it was a higher margin. I set the price higher. I'm not going to do
Of
it for
course.
peanuts like the K style.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then, got us into the box down spouts and I just kind of took it from there. Then I got interested in the half round. But the whole thing was letting the public know about it. And
Yeah.
there must be 10 companies that have that machine now down here, maybe more, maybe 15.
Yeah,
And
who
at
who
first I was
knows?
like, man, this sucks because people are getting it. But then it started helping me out because like now the market's more aware of it because
Yeah.
it wasn't just me telling people about it. It was 15 different companies.
Well, and they're
And
advertising and they're in different little newspapers or,
yeah,
how Florida is, all the gated communities got their own little magazine. And so, yeah, a little healthy competition is
so then
fabulous, actually.
now a good portion of the public knows that they have access to this now. So they search
Mm-hmm.
for it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm dominating AdWords and they get that
Yeah.
search. I'm there on top. So these other companies were helping calls come to me
Yep.
because they're making the public aware that there's even this profile. So it kind of just started there.
Let's not give it away, but we have that secret to that success in our mastermind, correct? There's a
Oh yeah.
way to do that. Tim's a master of it. We do something very similar. But again, Tim gets the trophy on that, teaching me about that as well. Guttergrowth.com. Come check it out. There's a lot
Well,
going
yeah.
on. There's a lot going on. We've got huge stuff for 2024. So now you got the coveted, you know, my favorite, the 8-inch. What
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
did you get the eight
Background.
inch?
That
Yeah.
that was interesting, that one. That one was fun.
That was very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I've
Oh
been looking
Lloyd, Tim's
for it.
got an 8-inch half round machine, is what we said when
I
we
was
caught
looking
wind of
for it for
that.
a while and it came up for sale one time. Gutter One had that one. The one that I bought was the
Yeah.
first one that Gutter One owned.
Uh-huh.
And I seen it go on for sale on the group, but it was like gone the same day. And this one guy, Matt,
Ah,
and I actually
okay.
had him come out and run a chop and drop for me because I
Uh-huh.
couldn't get Dan out there quick enough. And
I think he might have did a couple for us too. I think so. I don't remember.
then
I think
I
it
didn't
felt
know
like the
he was
machine
gonna.
was there and then it was gone, right?
Yeah, he had it for a couple. I don't know. He had it for
6 months,
I
a
don't know,
year,
maybe a
something.
year, and I think he sold
Yeah.
it to buy a piece of property.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was going to sell it. So then he sold it to someone else on the West Coast. That guy had it for a period of time, maybe a
Uh-huh.
few months, and then somehow he got a hold of a Grover 8-inch. So he was selling the
Uh,
KWM because he had the Grover.
uh-huh.
It got listed online on the gutter installers group. I seen it. I called the guy.
You
He
jumped.
was like, I already got it sold. I got someone coming to get
Ah.
it right now. I'm like, oh man. I says, how much did you sell it for? He's like 45 grand. I'm like, well,
Boomerang.
I said, I'll give you
Boom.
50.
Boomerang. That's a boomerang,
Yeah.
ladies
So
and
that 5
gentlemen.
grand changed things. He gave the
Come
guy
on.
respect and called him up to see if he wanted to match me. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I ended up driving right over there. I
Yeah.
went to,
It's done, yeah.
this is when I found out that banks don't even have money
Yeah.
because Because I'm like, I need
Yeah.
50 grand cash. So I go to the
They're
bank.
like, oh, we need
We
6 days to get
we can
that.
give you 10, you know,
We'll give
so
you a cashier's check. You're like, no.
so I'm running around bank to bank to bank trying to find cash, you know, and
Yep.
it took
Yep.
like 5 or 6 stops. I
Yep.
went to every bank I could, got out as much as I could, finally got to 50 grand, drove over there and went and snagged it. So
That was a done deal. Do you want to know honestly who I thought was gonna end up with that machine? I was watching that whole thing because me and Jerry parted ways. I still think highly of the guy. I mean, he's got some good business sense. I know he was ready to pull the trigger on some stuff. We did a pretty wild startup over there for 3 years, but I thought that Guttersmith was going to end up with that machine.
well, he's already got one.
Okay, I thought he was going to end up with the other one. Though.
Mine, 2 of them.
Yeah, that's what I thought because I knew all those boys that worked over there, and of course Corey came to work for me from over there, and so I was like, this guy's going to end up owning everything. We're never going to be able to get our hands on it. Then I hear you've got it, and I'm like, this guy's never going to get out of the business ever. Sure enough.
Yeah.
Sure enough. Yeah. Okay, so what made you start the chop and drop? We'll kind of get towards the end of this here. I know that you had
Well, that was
shows. Yeah, what did
so
you do?
it was weird, man. I had a vision board.
Mhm.
I actually could probably look at my notes because I had this in my notes too, and I had an idea, and it was called Pick Your Profile.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
I was even going to get into buying the NASCAR machine. Is that what it's called? NASCAR.
Yeah,
NASCAR.
I don't know. Some people say NASCAR or NASCAR. I know Tony
Right.
Cobb has one, right?
Yeah, but now
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it because after New Tech bought it, they discontinued it.
Right.
So I think that was
Right.
just like a power play to get it out of here.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but
Who knows?
now you can't even really. Now it's not worth it. I'm glad I didn't buy that one. But that
If
was
you
my
have
original-
one, that's cool. If you have one now, I mean,
Yeah, it's
that's cool.
cool. It's cool,
yeah,
but it's just
it is
I'm
what it
glad I
is.
didn't buy it. But that's where my
Yeah.
idea was at first, was getting that machine and then having all the profiles, and
Mm-hmm.
they already had the 6-inch half round bought at this time, the Euro. So it was just kind of bringing the plan together, and yeah, I don't know. I just decided to do the chop and drop thing. So
And that worked out well
I
for
kind of
you.
got the idea from Dan because Dan was doing it,
Yeah.
nationwide, and I figured I'll just do it in Florida. He didn't have the 8-inch half round machine anymore, so it was perfect for me because no one had it.
So let me ask you this, and I'm just probably being cynical here. You had no clue what you were doing, and then you were able to make an exit, right? You didn't have a vision board, you didn't read a book, you didn't grow, you just put $400 a month into advertising. You said to the hell with the AdWords, and I know how to do this all myself. I'm just going to put one sign out a week, and that's how you made the exit in the gutter business, correct?
No, I ended up hiring a.
No, you did all the stuff. That's how you make the exit. You had to grow. You
Yeah,
had a vision
yeah,
board,
I did
right?
all the
So,
stuff. I mean, I had a good company that was worth buying, So
yeah,
it's hard to sell a gutter company if you don't have a business and it's just basically you doing all the work. Then you really just have the assets of the machines, and that's
yeah.
really I mean, they're not even gonna. They don't even
You'll
care.
get beat up on that stuff and box
Yeah,
trucks that are wrapped.
it don't even
No one
matter if
even
you
really
do 300,
wants that
400
stuff.
a year, 400,
No.
500 grand. They don't really care because you have to do it
No.
all yourself, so you don't have a business. So I read a book called Built to Sell, and I must have read that maybe 5
Bunch
years
times.
prior to selling.
Okay.
Now, like you mentioned it earlier, I don't know if it was on this podcast or one of our clips that we did earlier today, but you mentioned that brain fart.
No, it's all right. We're going in a deep dive here. You just told us your life story, all your ins and outs. So I mentioned something that obviously sparked some interest. What I just asked you, and maybe it'll catch up, like that you did the wrong things at the beginning, but you stopped doing the wrong things, right? And everybody has to start somewhere. Listen, if you get into our mastermind group and you come in and you're like, hey, I did $250,000 last year in my first year, we're not gonna this guy's a lame. No, we're gonna say, how much do you want to do next year? And if it's, well, I'd like to do $250,000 again, we might ask you to leave. Why don't you go for the $500,000? We'll help you double your money. I got a
Which is
proven
very
track
doable.
record.
I mean, I doubled it.
Doubling. Yeah.
So
I
I
doubled.
started I started taking it
120%
serious
growth. Yeah.
when me and John hooked up a pipeline, and I doubled my numbers a couple of years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I took it from 250 to 500, and I went from 500 to a million. You know, it
Yeah.
starts slowing down after you get you know, the 2 million mark. You're not going to go to 4 million the next year, but
No. I mean, you have to make some really crazy. You have to do a lot. I'm doing those plays, right? You gotta get to a point to where it's like you gotta hats off to Kip, right? This guy's like, okay, we do 1.5 million the first year, 2.5 million the second year. Do we want to try to jump to the four? No, we gotta like we talked about this on with Corey J in the podcast. I did, and Corey hit the nail on the head. I think before I brought it up, $2 million is a nice location. That's a solid spot.
and
If you
when you're
really
at two
want to
million,
do
there's things you could do to save money without even adding revenue. There's things you could do. Like,
correct,
you're really great at it, you know. You cut
yeah,
the
there's a
material
bunch of
costs
things.
down, you're buying in bulk, there's things that you could shave down and make it a more profitable company. So it's not
We,
always about more money coming in. A lot of
no,
it's about less money going out.
a good example of that is top line revenue. Um, I know a lot of companies, and because we coach, and because I've been coaching for a long time, and I'm also a part of a brand, right, and all that type of stuff. But I know a ton of people's numbers out of the brand, like more than I do in the brand, and I have access to those numbers. And I know some companies that are doing 2 million, 2.5 million, 4 million. We make more money doing 1.8 million. Like they're just turning
Right.
dollars.
Yeah,
Like
it's
in
not
the
all
first
about
couple
revenue.
years, yeah, the first couple years, of course, you're going to do that. But there's such thing as top line revenue, and then there's such thing as actually being profitable. And like one owner could make $70,000 off of 2 million, right? It's a difference in is it your first year, second year, but let's just say it's like your fourth year, and you do $2 million and you make 100 grand, or you do $2 million and you make 310 grand. And is it
Right.
passive? Are you working in it? Are you working on it? Is someone else work? Like you're my favorite saying, work on the business, not in the business. And then here goes Kip. He worked in it, on it, out of it. Not
Right.
passive for him. I run the business. Me and my wife run the business for him, you know, and he's making money and he's doing something else. That's in 2 years. We can coach you to do that. Me and Tim, we can
Oh
coach you to
yeah,
do
it's
that.
possible. I mean,
100%. Yeah.
the last 2 or 3 years of my business, I was done by 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning with everything I had
Yeah.
to do. You
Yeah.
know, it's not like I didn't answer my phone and have stuff to do, but I wasn't out there working on the business. I wasn't in the field doing all that
Well, you weren't
stuff.
going crazy. If you wanted to
No,
spend time with your family
I
or
could.
do something,
Yep.
you could, or read a book. Or remember, we were talking about you were going to do, some clothing and some other things.
Yeah.
Like you were able to have time to dream up what next investment, what's next play that you were going to make. And had time to dream up this. You sold your business, you jumped right into this, you did this, you just jumped right into another business, right? Rinse
And
and
it
repeat.
basically, I didn't even know I was going to get into the gutter business, and it's been a good 20-year ride. But it
Yeah.
kind of is full circle. I'm not a personal trainer anymore, but I'm back in the training game and back to helping people and kind of where I originally
Yeah.
was. You know how they say,
Yeah.
like, when you're a kid, you almost know what you're meant for more than, when you get older, because you kind
For
of wipe all
sure.
that memory. But it brought
Mm-hmm.
me back to kind of what I like to do.
No, I love
Mhm.
it. And we're really grateful that you're here and that you have more time. Uh like it's fabulous that you're not out there owner operator of Gutter Pros still.
Right.
And this brainchild would have never been dreamed up. I wouldn't be running this podcast. And man, all credit to you for you put in a lot of work to make this happen. And thanks for
And I
giving me
give
a
a lot
piece
of
of the
credit to
pie.
John, man, because he,
Let's do that. Yeah.
yeah, he's pushed me to do this. So he's kind of pushed me more than I could say it was like my grand idea. It really wasn't. It was kind of like a collective thing with me and John, and he pushed me a lot to get it going. Even when I first sold, he's like, "No, you want to do it?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then
Hmm.
and I'm like, "All right, let's do it." So
Yeah,
then we just
yeah.
keep going.
Yeah. No, I remember I was waiting to see, and you were gonna, and then you weren't, and then different things.
Yeah, I
We're
was
talking about
flip-flopping
John
a little bit.
Majak for you guys, Mr. Pipeline, the Mr. Pipeline. So John is a partner in this as well, everyone. So like in the gutter growth, So we have a fabulous team with a proven track record. This isn't a spur of the moment. Give us your money. We'll try to help you out. This is, how much help do you want? We guarantee success. We guarantee success. The gutter business is pretty easy. I can't make you successful if you have a old trailer that you haven't plugged in a long time sitting in someone else's barn and you have no money. So get a little loan, get a vision, and then come talk to us. And then we can
Get a growth mindset. That's the
you got it.
I think the most important thing for anybody, the number one priority that anyone should have should be their mindset. Because everything else follows. Everything else follows. Everything.
Yes.
Most important thing there is, the biggest priority anyone should have is mindset, period.
Yeah, with some humility sprinkled on there. People are like, right, you're not humble.
But that's part of the mindset, is having that humility, you know?
Humility, yeah. I learned a lot from you. I got to have another conversation with John the other day. We were speaking about some stuff on the podcast. Let's just do another formal announcement. So me and Tim are going to be here doing podcasts for you all year long. You're going to see us together. You're going to see us apart. We are bringing in sponsors. This thing's taking off, and really appreciate all the viewers. You know, we can't do it without you guys. We could sit here and talk for hours and no one would listen, but we really appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to have this platform. Speaking for myself, I don't take it lightly, and I'm going to give you guys everything I got, and I'm not holding back. Just before this call, Tim, I'm going to shoot this guy out if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I've been talking with him on and off all day today, and JT Gilbert, he is
he's in our group.
Yeah, he's the owner of Okie Curb Appeal, and he did his first radius today. And when I say radius, it's a 90-degree outside and it's a snake.
Oh yeah, I've done one of those.
Wild. And JT, with training over the phone, knocked this thing out of the park. I'm gonna have him tag us and put some pictures out. This is his first time doing it, and it was made possible from your mastermind. So thanks again, Tim. Thanks for sharing your story. You got any final words, or? Because I could interview for the next like 7 days, man.
Yeah, I got a lot of info back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, thanks for interviewing me. And
of course.
Yeah, man, it's just guttergrowth.com.
Guttergrowth.com.
Find the link. We'll help you out. I mean, I've been from the bottom to the top in the business. So I mean, I started from not even having a vehicle to pull my trailer. So I mean, I've been there. I've been an installer, been a business owner, learned the marketing. I'll give you everything I got.
Yeah. Come show up. It's Growing 24. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it and hope you have a happy new year. Tim, man, I'm so glad to have you back. Next time we talk, we'll talk a little bit about your lighting success. And if anybody's interested, well, we got something major for you guys.
There's stuff
in
coming
the
up
lighting.
this year.
There's going to be some crazy stuff. So look out for me and Tim. We're going to knock it out of the park for you. Growing 24, guttergrowth.com, Gutter Growth Mastermind on YouTube. Come take a look. Be willing to learn.
If you're not on the group, join the Gutter Growth Mastermind group on Facebook. We got like 1,500 members right now.
Yeah, I think we had a big bump today. We had a whole bunch of people sign up.
Yeah, so if you're hearing about us from YouTube and you're not on our group, join our group on Facebook.
We can tell you right now, there will be zero spamming, advertising. We're not doing that. I know there's a couple other groups that are good. If
someone does it, message me, I'll boot them.
Yeah, we'll get them the heck out of there. We got no time for that. All growth. Hey, Happy New Year, Tim. I'm sure we'll talk again next few days. Thank you so much, and I'm really glad you're back, man.
See you, Grant.
Later.